Optimism is much like the butterfly effect. In the same way a butterfly flapping its little wings in India can eventually cause a tornado in Iowa, a simple act of optimism can create a chain reaction that produces a more positive world, drives social change, and reminds each and every single one of us to treasure the seemingly insignificant moments in our lives. What exactly is the butterfly effect? Well, according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, it is the idea that small actions and events can have massive and nonlinear impacts on a complex system. This phenomenon is often shoved aside, dubbed as a myth or a shower thought. And this is completely understandable. I mean, how often do you see articles about hurricanes in Iowa with headlines such as "Butterfly wing-induced hurricane causes chaos among many communities," or "Butterfly wanted, thousands displaced, hundreds dead"? Though the butterfly effect doesn't necessarily mean that every single time a butterfly flies, a natural disaster occurs on the other side of the world, it does mean that seemingly insignificant actions can change the trajectory of one's life or the world around them. Let's backtrack to September 11th, 2001, where many lives were lost after two hijacked planes crashed into the North and South World Trade Centers. In a 2011 interview with CNN's Madison Park, United Airlines flight attendant Elise O'Kane recounts how a faulty system denied her desperate request to attend Flight 175, the flight that hit the South Tower. Because of a glitch in a computer system, Elise O'Kane lived while her co-workers died. Something that seemed so small at the time, perhaps even frustrating, saved her life. Before today, optimism might have seemed like a mindset that only changes your perception of the world and how you view your experiences, but it is much more powerful than that. Atlas Corp's Santa Sala helps us understand how optimism is a robust force in driving social change. Many transformative moments of the past, whether for civil rights, gender equality, or environmental protection, have occurred because of optimists who believed in a brighter future. Remember that one speech that starts with, "I have a dream"? Well, the creator of that speech, Martin Luther King, was an advocate for optimism. Despite the realities of systemic racism that affected every aspect of Black life in North America, Dr. King never stopped believing in the inherent goodness of humanity. Even with the heavy weight of society's distaste for Black individuals on the weight of his back, he believed that eventually equity and peace would prevail in North America, that every human's heart would give into justice, compassion, and hope, and so it did. Though not immediately, his speech sparked a movement for civil rights, leading to the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which officially ended racial segregation in the United States. And guess what? That one famous phrase that I mentioned earlier in the speech, "I have a dream," almost didn't make the speech. Marshall Terrell from Arizona State University states that Dr. King actually used that phrase multiple times before, but his advisors told him not to use it this time because it was too cliche. But he did. And that one tiny optimism-fueled choice, something that seemed so insignificant, led to the demolition of racial segregation in the United States, marking real freedom for all its citizens because Dr. King was able to relate to his audience in a way no one had before. The butterfly effect, ladies and gentlemen. Martin Luther King's speech is just one example of many that showcases optimism's ability to change society and the world for the better. The best part is, every little act of optimism you carry out in your day-to-day life can also change the world. It starts with a thought. Instead of thinking about how you have to study for your test tomorrow, think about how blessed you are to even have an education, and how studying for your test will certainly help you get a good grade. And instead of thinking about every single way a trip could go wrong, think about every single way a trip could go right and all the new experiences you would gain. Before you know it, your thoughts will become actions. When people around you talk about how they're so scared for their test tomorrow or their trip next week, you can help them see that things don't have to be so bad. And if you keep it up, soon they'll be doing the same to their friends, who did to their friends, and so on and so on. And soon enough, it will be impossible to talk negatively about something without at least one person jumping in to help you see the positive side of things. Optimism is a choice, a small one. It is a thought, a word, an action, and a habit, and all of these combined and thrown into a butterfly wing-induced tornado. I encourage you to think about every decision you make today, and tomorrow, and the day after that, because whether you realize it or not, every decision we make has colossal consequences. After all, a word of encouragement can create a future millionaire. Flipping someone's perspective can change the trajectory of one's destiny, and a small smile can save someone's life. Thank you.